Neanderthal man is still in the textbooks, but it was proven 50 years ago it's just an old man with arthritis. Neanderthal man was named after Neander Valley, where it was found in Germany, and Neander Valley was named after a guy named Joachim Neander, who wrote the song in your songbook, Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of Creation. They found this old skeleton, petrified skeleton in this valley, and the back was bent over, and they named it the Neanderthal man. It was quite obviously a human, but the back was curved. And since apes are four-legged, walks leaning over, and man walks on two legs, later on somebody said, well, you know, we need some evidence for evolution. Let's go use that old man we found. So they said, see, his back has been over because he's slowly coming up. No, he has arthritis. He's slowly going down. They've known that all along. It's not a missing link at all. About 300 Neanderthal skeletons have now been found, all of them perfectly normal like ours. Their brain is bigger than ours, 13% bigger on average. Average height of the males was 5'9", of the females 5'3", same as today. But yet they say it's a missing link. They gave the same Neanderthal skull to 9 different artists and said, what did it look like? They got 9 different answers. Those pictures you see in your book, kid, are pure imagination on the part of the artist. The person who's commissioning the art can say, well, I want it to look a little more ape-like or a little more human-like. They can make it look however they want. Any artist can tell you that. Jack Coazzo studied the Neanderthals very carefully. He went and studied the originals. He brought an X-ray machine with him. He's a dentist, studied 32 years. He studied the growth of the human face as an orthodontist. You know, when you put braces on a kid who's 12 years old, it'd be nice to know what his face is going to look like when he's 40 to make sure the teeth still work. You don't want to arrange them so they look good when he's 12 and look bad when he's 40, right? So he studied all the original Neanderthals, the actual ones. He said, folks, the Neanderthals are nothing but old people with diseases. See, before the flood, they lived to be over 900. After the flood, they still lived to be 400 years old. And then 200, and then 100. Well, the bones of your face never stop growing. Coazzo's got an excellent book on that and videotapes on this topic. The bones of your eyebrow ridge grow all your life. You don't notice it till you get to be 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 years old, but they start to stick out. A person that lived to be 200 or 300 would have big eyebrow ridges. And the back of the head would elongate because of the muscles always pulling your head back. That's where they attach. So the Neanderthals were nothing but perfectly normal humans who were living to be 200 or 300 years old. They're not missing links. Or you can get the book Buried Alive. You can get it from our website or on our catalog back there. Cro-Magnon man was perfectly normal in every respect. So why do they call that a missing link? You put a suit and tie on him, walk him down the street, and nobody would look twice. 1973, Australopithecus was proven it can't be a missing link. They've got one in your textbooks now called Australopithecus afarensis, better known as Lucy. How many have ever heard of Lucy before? Donald Johanson found Lucy, Hadar Valley, Ethiopia, 1973. He went there on a grant to look for missing links. Somebody gave him some money and said, go to Africa and find some missing links. 2 weeks before his grant money ran out, he discovered Lucy. He was highly motivated to find something, or he wouldn't renew his grant. Quite a long, interesting story about that. He's certainly not an unbiased observer in this situation. He said Lucy was a missing link. Actually, what he found was 40% of a skeleton that put together and alive would have been about 3 feet tall. Obviously a chimpanzee or monkey type animal. He put the skull together. Actually, the bones of the skull were so thoroughly crushed they could not tell anything about what the skull looked like. In your textbooks, kids, they're going to show you a half-human, half-ape skull. Part of the propaganda machine they've got going. He said the knee joint is proof Lucy could walk upright. Actually, the knee joint that was labeled Lucy's knee in National Geographic was the one found 1.5 miles away from Lucy, 200 feet deeper in the strata. If that's Lucy's knee, I want to know how fast the train was going that hit that chimpanzee. Tom Willis has a great article about the Lucy's knee joint. Go to the website CSAMA, Creation Science Association of Mid-America.org, and get a whole lot more on Lucy's knee joint. But he said the femur was angled. Now that's a fact, okay? An ape has a straight leg. The lower leg and upper leg are in a straight line. A human leg is not straight. It goes from your foot to your knee and then angles off to the side to your hip, because your hips are wider than your knees. And Lucy's knee was angled. And Donald said, see, that proves she's becoming a human. No, Donald, any monkey with a tree climbing capability, tree climbing monkeys have angled femurs. So an angled femur does not prove it's becoming a human. Donald Johanson said the bones of Lucy's knee are slightly bigger than a regular ape. So, The bones of a Clydesdale are slightly bigger than a regular horse. That doesn't prove it's becoming a truck. All he found was a heavy-duty chimpanzee, that's all. And there are big horses and little horses today, folks. The St. Louis Zoo put human feet on their Lucy display. Not one single foot bone was found. Every other Australopithecine that has been found, and several have been found, all of them had curled toes. They call them a knuckle walker. You know, chimpanzees don't walk flat on their feet. They walk on their knuckles because their foot's designed like your hand for grabbing a tree branch. And so they curl their toes under. They call them knuckle walkers. One of the professors in Washington University in St. Louis, where the St. Louis Zoo has this display up, he said, this statue is a complete misrepresentation. I like to use simple words. They spoke with great plainness of speech, the Bible says. I think it's a lie is a better word there. The zoo director said, zoo officials have no plans to knuckle under. Ha ha, real funny. He said, we cannot be updating every exhibit based on every new piece of evidence. We look at the overall exhibit and the impression it creates. We think the overall impression this exhibit creates is correct. Well now, Bruce, do you mean you would lie to kids that come through your zoo just to give an impression across that you've got evidence for evolution? Yes, they would, and they do. Lucy is not a missing link. In Africa, in some ash, layer of hardened volcanic ash, they found perfectly normal human footprints. Perfectly normal human. But the ash had already been dated at 3.75 million years old. They said, well, it can't be human. Russell Tuttle, University of Chicago, studied 70 people that go barefoot all their life. They never wear shoes. He looked at their footprints that they left in the ash and in the mud. He tried them in all sorts of things. And he said the footprints of these people alive today are exactly like the ones found in the ash in Laetoli. Then he said, if the footprints were not known to be so old, we would readily conclude that they were made by a member of our own genus. In other words, if we didn't know better, we'd think they were human. You know, folks, if you find normal human footprints in the ash, what should you conclude? A human walked there. I don't have a problem with that. And National Geographic, Mary Leakey said the form of his foot was exactly the same as ours. Weight-bearing pressure patterns in the prints resemble human ones. Footprints so very much like our own. Well, maybe a human made them. But see, it's too old. This is where an example where the evolutionary theory is a hindrance to common sense research. And then in National Geographic, they put dark-skinned, ape-like creatures on top of these footprints. Not one single bone was found. Now, if you found normal human footprints in the ash, why would you put a half-man, half-monkey creature on top? This is for propaganda value, folks. This is not science. And why did they add the toe separation? They did that on purpose, the artist did, to make it look a little more ape-like. See, humans have your toe, your big toe lined up with the rest of your toes. Apes have their big toe sticking off to the side. They can grab a tree branch with their foot, with their big toe on one side, other toes on the other side. You can't do that. If you'd like to practice, I suggest you start with a low branch to try it on, okay? Because it's going to be hard. Well, in National Geographic, they put an article about 4 million years of bipedalism, walking on two legs. They show all the missing links, but look what they did with the feet. They made them all look human. This is a lie, folks. This is propaganda. And if you're spending your money on National Geographic, I recommend you quit. Give it to a missionary instead. Okay? The Australopithecines are more different, according to Charles Oxnard, who studied them for 16 years. He said they're more different than African apes and humans in most features than the latter are from each other. They can't be a missing link. There could be some Australopithecines still alive. Upright walking monkey down in Sumatra, down near Vietnam. Peking man was in the textbooks for years as evidence for evolution. All evidence disappeared during World War II. But they found in this cave a bunch of monkey skulls that were smashed and a bunch of human tools. Somebody said, wow, look at this. These monkeys are learning to make tools. Oh, and they're practicing on their head. Yeah. Oh, that one works good. Yeah. Duh. No. In some cultures, they like to eat monkey brains. You know, have you seen Indiana Jones? They also found 10 human remains in the same cave. They didn't tell you about that, though. Peking man was a place where people would go to have a feast and eat monkey brains, is my theory. Australopithecine is not a missing link. Homo erectus is in the textbooks as evidence. It used to be called Java man, originally called Pithecanthropus erectus. Now it's called Homo erectus. The evolutionists said it's 500,000 years old. It was found by a Dutch anatomist who believed in evolution and had gone to look for missing links. He hired a bunch of convicts to go out and find him some bones. He said, you guys go out in the woods and find me some bones. We've got to find some missing links. He has no idea where they came from. These convicts would bring him back bones, and he would put, oh, that's part human, part ape. He was looking desperately to prove the evolution theory. Dr. Dubois had gone to Java to look for missing links. He took these convicts out there, and they came back with all kinds of bones. He took a human, 3 human teeth, a human thigh bone, and an ape skull cap, and put them all together and said he found the missing link. He hid the fact that he found 2 normal human skulls in the same area. He put them under his bed, under the floorboards. Kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, you know, Telltale Heart? Oh, no, this was Telltale Head. So he lied, all right? There's not enough evidence from fossils to answer when, where, and how Homo sapiens emerged. There's no evidence for human evolution. This guy says, fossil evidence of human evolution is fragmentary and open to various interpretations. Fossil evidence of chimpanzee evolution is absent altogether. Well, I agree. Marvin Lubenow has a great book called Bones of Contention. If you want to study all of the so-called cavemen, that's the one I recommend. Or if you've got a friend going to school being taught anthropology about all the cavemen, if you want to save them from a lot of headache and learning false things, get them this book for a birthday present or something. Excellent gift to give to anybody you know going to college and learning all this junk about man coming from an ape-like ancestor. The only missing link I've been able to find is modern man. Something is missing between his ears. These guys spend all their free time digging in the dirt looking for bones. My dog did the same thing. But we didn't make the taxpayers pay his salary while he did it. Florida has a law that requires textbooks to be accurate. So does California. So does Texas. So does Wisconsin. So does Alabama. Most states have laws requiring textbooks to be accurate. Minnesota has a law that says a teacher shall not deliberately suppress or distort subject matter. Yeah, sure. Hey there, fella, you betcha. Well, here's a textbook used in Minnesota, and it says that all of these ones in the circle here have been proven wrong, but they're still using them as evidence for evolution. They're lying to the kids. And they're calling, used to call modern man Homo sapien. Today they're calling us Homo sapiens sapien. Wow, what does that mean? Well, sapien means wise. So today we're the wise man. That's interesting. You know, the Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Now, if you believe your ancestors were a monkey, you're a fool. There's no question that some of my ancestors probably swung by their necks, but none of them swung by their tails. Yeah. Now look, if you find a fossil in the dirt, all you know is it died. You don't know it had any kids. You sure can't prove it had different kids. And why would you think a bone you found in the dirt can do something animals today cannot do, which is produce something other than their kind? Hey, did you know chimpanzees are still having babies? Why don't they make another human and let's watch it this time? See, evolution only happens in the imagination, never in reality. Where does the Stone Age fit into the Bible? Well, I think right after the flood, people got off the ark and they faced a real hostile climate. Things had changed. Noah couldn't tell his grandson to go to the hardware store and get him a shovel. There were no hardware stores. You would have to make stone tools because that you can make pretty quick. It takes a while to dig the iron ore out of the ground and melt it down and make the steel tools. So meanwhile, you're going to starve to death. They probably had a Gilligan's Island situation for the first few generations. Just, you know, a lot of smart folks with not much technology. You'd have to rebuild civilization. So they would make stone tools. And there are cultures today still making stone tools. I think during the time right after the flood, there would be an ice age lasting for several hundred years. We covered that on video 6. During that time, people would wander around following herds of animals, and you don't want to carry a pile of rocks with you. So you wait till you catch up with the herd, and then you make your tools right on the spot. You kill the animals and leave the tools behind. You follow the herd someplace else. That way you're not carrying 50 pounds of rocks with you. It's quicker to make a new one after you get there. So a lot of times they find these crude-looking instruments, and they'll say, well, this is an older society. No, these people are in a bigger hurry. That's what it means. And if they have really neat-looking arrowheads, they probably had more time to sit there and shape them. Nothing to do with intelligence. But not only were the people living longer before the flood, animals were living longer also, and growing much bigger, I believe. This is a hornless rhinoceros, 18 feet tall.